definitely support the idea of required service, whether it's civil service or military service. I think that one of the biggest problems we have in this country is that most people do not appreciate or respect the nature of the collective. And I think that if we had something where regularly people, you graduate and you serve time doing something for your country, I think that starts to build a feeling of collective. And we don't have that. I feel like that's something that's very missing here. What do you think?
No, I agree with it. I agree with it. There should be a concept of service, but it doesn't have to just fall on the burden on young people. It happens. If it happens to young people, there's an environmental corps, or we started a city year in Little Rock where young people can come in and do a year of service, mostly in the school systems. But it doesn't have to be young people. The whole idea is that you take a humility pill and you get off your high horse and you say, I'm here to help other people. It's not about your bank account, your Harvard degree, or your parents' money. It's just about you and how you relate to the world. And obviously, if you do it for young people, it's a great start in life and sort of meeting people across. But if you do it I think there's a great need in the world for 40-year-old lawyers and accountants. And I think, an American Service Corps that would pull together 20,000 accountants and lawyers for a year to go in places that are not comfortable, that may be difficult, maybe even dangerous, and know that they're doing it to help the people there, not just to promote U.S. policy, but to actually help people. It's amazing what could be done. See, people everywhere are smart. I've been through Africa for years, and I've been so impressed with people in Africa. Everybody's smart. People think that because they don't have our legal structure or they didn't go to Cambridge, they're not smart. Oh, they're real smart. That's how they survive. They know their system. But the question is, can we make a better life if we bring them forward into more modern economics and culture and finance? Maybe. But that's what a service corps of mid-career professionals could do. And so I see it throughout people's, and there is a senior executive service corps. Some of my relatives have been in this, and they advise businesses around the world. But that's different than sort of going in and helping governments. Our problem today is the balance between government and society. We started, it's like in the old army saying, anything worth doing is worth overdoing. And so we always sort of laugh at ourselves when we say that. So if you're going to teach people to salute, well, probably you're teaching them to salute too much. And it's just the nature of institutions. Starting in the 1980s, we decided government was the problem. And this was my hero, Ronald Reagan. And we laughed. He said, government's like a baby. You put the nutrients in the top, and he said, well, you know what comes out the bottom. And so it was a funny joke, but over 40 years, what it's done is it's put the country really behind. It's contributed to this flyover mentality where all the wealth is on the coasts, where young people leave their homes, where older people, middle-aged people can't get jobs. It's just really, and where people come to America and say, you people, you have the worst airports in the world. Your highways are terrible. You don't even have one high-speed rail network, not one. And then people say that about America. Say, what's wrong with you? And
so you're not over impressed with Mayo Pete as head of as Secretary of Transportation? You're not wowed by his transportation prowess?
Look, this is a multi-generational problem. And we have to accept the fact that there are certain things government can do that the private sector can't do. We always say, well, don't let government do the choosing. Okay, that's true. But if you look, I was at President Obama's 2009 jobs conference. And afterwards I said, there's a real problem with jobs in this country. I went around to some of the top economists. I said, how do we create jobs? They said, it's just the private sector can do it. That's the way it's done. Industrial policy doesn't work. In France, they tried to create a perfume for the government by the government with Bridget Bardot, and nobody bought it. Bridget Bardot was this famous 1960s actress.
Sure.
And but the truth is that industrial policy does work. We have the most innovative pharmaceutical sector in the world, thanks to the National Institutes of Health. We pay. We, the public, pay for this. And of course, they get the benefits of the research, often without paying anything back. They get to keep their patents. Our military technologies, it's the best in the world. Look at it in Ukraine with these HIMARS systems, and yet, and that's a government program. So you think industrial policy doesn't work? No, industrial policy does work. It's just that in the private sector, and I saw this back in the 70s when I was in the Ford administration and in the Office of Management and Budget, people come to the government, they say, I could do this better. Let me do this instead of you doing it. And so over a period of 40 years, we've privatized a lot of functions. We've ended up in some cases paying more, some cases we haven't. And we've taken away the idea that the government is supposed to work for the people. And that's the key concept that we have to recapture. And if it's going to work for the people, who are the people and whose voices count? So can I tell you about my program of the Civility Leadership Institute?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. So look, first of all, we started this thing in 2018 going out, and I thought I could get like post-partisan politicians that had been in the game, but were no longer so partisan. And I thought, just like we do in the Army, we take the retired generals out and they tell people about the military. But we take these retired politicians out, they'll tell people about, how politics really works. You have to differentiate yourself and you have to have some attacks on the opponent. But mostly the things that we agree on a lot more than we disagree on. And I wanted people to be able to say that. But COVID interrupted this. So, and I thought that I could create and build a team of hundreds, maybe thousands of young people who would go out in the political process. And when people talk emotions and attack each other, they'd say, you want my vote? You want my money? I want to hear about the issues. I want a rational discussion. And I want to see respect for the system, not just the person, but the system that's given us these blessings of democracy. So I thought, but COVID interrupted that. So what we're doing now is we're bringing 30 people. We started last year. 30 people give us one Friday a month virtually. And we do communications training. We bring in a diverse group of people from different states, different political orientations, different gender, different race, different ethnicity, different religions. And we mix them together and teach them how to communicate with each other. And in the middle of each Friday, we have a issues panel, and we talk about some of the key issues. And people get to hear the issue from people who really make it. We had Scaramucci on, we had Lena Wynn talking about, and they also have to look at the communication skills. And then we, of course, measure the results. And we've been so gratified with this program. The first 30 people that went through it were so impressed that they demanded to come to Little Rock. And just a second, I got to get back to you. I'll call you right back. So they were so impressed with each other that they demanded to come to Little Rock and meet each other. So at the end of July, we're going to have a meeting here, and we're bringing in the next cohort. The thing is that you can't change America with 30 people at a time, but it's a start. So we proved out a system. So now we want to take that system as wide as possible. And it does require time commitment, and people have to want to learn to communicate. But most Americans, they've never had mid-career education. Nobody called them aside and said, okay, now you've been out in the workforce for 10, 15 years. How do you see things? And you take a personality inventory test. It turns out, you see things pretty black and white, or you see things, it's, I don't know, but, it's kind of fuzzy to me. But I'm happy to listen. And you find different personality types, and you teach people who they are. You let them discover who they are through personality tests, and then help them understand who the others are. And then you let them work communication skills and learn about the issues. And it's like the blossoming of a flower. It's just a reawakening for people. And suddenly in the middle of their lives, they see the world in a different way. It just opens up perspectives. And I think if we can do this for hundreds of Americans, thousands of Americans, in a way that we'll change politics in this country.
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.